Hello, everyone. This is WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and I am Cece Schatz.
And I am Derek Bernard.
And we are your hosts tonight on the Boy and Girl Thing Show.
Well, welcome. I hope that you all enjoy the program.
Yes, I think we're gonna have fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have some fun. We'll try to be interesting, and we welcome any comments or calls or whatever, text, whatever.
Yes, absolutely. Well, tonight we're going to talk about 5 rules for having constructive relationship conflict
conversation.
That's a mouthful, isn't it? That's a whole mouthful.
It's a whole mouthful. But usually
I got that word constructive, and I thought, constructive? What?
Well, usually those conversations are a mouthful, so.
Right. So does that mean having constructive, does that mean actually we're going to think before we speak? Because we're going to construct what we're going to talk about before we talk about it?
Before we actually talk about it,
I know.
That would be the thing to do.
That would be the thing to do. So let's go to, we got 5 rules. So let's talk about this. And actually this article is filed by Kyle Benson.
Right.
Yeah. So he's really a good coach. And so I thought this was interesting.
It's interesting, but before we actually jump into the different sections,
yes.
How about if we give the prelude to the whole conversation?
How about if we give the what?
The introduction.
Okay, you do that. Yes, sir. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So people will be on the same page that we are,
Mm-hmm.
And Kyle Benson asks a question: how do you fight with your partner? Do you argue with them over how to love you or criticize them for their flaws? Conflict conversations in a relationship are not about the conflict. Most arguments are about nothing more than what the event means to each person in the relationship. It is a difference in personality, values, and perception, not the conflict, that are the root of disagreements. So how do we work on those differences? The destructive nature of conflict conversations. Have you ever felt like your partner was the enemy? In 1969, George Bach felt that way when he published The Intimate Enemy. Bach believed that relationships failed because partners didn't air their resentments. So he encouraged couples to let it all out. He gave couples foam rubber bats and encouraged partners to take turns saying what they resented about the other person. One partner might say, I resent you for spending our money on a stupid boat we never use, followed by a whack with the bat. Then the other partner might say, I resent you for never having sex with me, accompanied with a whack. It turns out this method only made couples feel more resentful toward one another. Letting it all out is not the solution. It's important to reframe your approach towards a conflict conversation. Happy couples start conflict conversations gently and follow their partner to influence them, and allow, their partner to influence them. They work with each other to compromise and find a solution. In this way, anger and frustration can actually be a catalyst for profound growth in a relationship. Conflicts can be used to reconstruct the way we love each other over time. So that was the introduction to this whole conversation. How to have a constructive conflict conversation. Now, before
that hitting each other with a bat isn't going to work.
Well, at least it was a rubber bat, nobody died.
I mean, when I read that, I thought, okay, I can get why that isn't working. But, and the thing is when you have a conversation with someone, if you're throwing out, I think, always what bothers you all the time, I think the other party tends to tune out. However, if you put it in a context that maybe what you feel when this is happening. Like, for instance, the one was like, you don't have sex with me anymore. You could throw out, listen, I don't feel as loved as I used to because we used to have sex all the time. We're not having sex now. What's up? What's going on? That's a totally different way of having the conversation. You know what I mean?
You are so correct, because one of the things I learned in neurolinguistic programming is that when there is a conflict situation, right, we keep asking a question. How does that make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
And we'll chunk down a little more when we get the answer, and we'll ask again, and how does that make you feel? Until we come right down into a distilled emotion or feeling that person might be experiencing when during that conflict situation. So that's the correct answer. To me, that's really the correct question to ask. How does it make you feel?
See, yeah. Now the reality is relationships are all really about the way it makes us feel. I mean, who wants to be in a bad conflict type of relationship? Nobody. No, for any type of reason, whether professional, personal, or intimate, or anything. We all want to feel good.
You want to feel good.
Right. So I totally get that. So why not think about the way we have our conversations to gear it towards about not only just how we feel, but also about the way our partner feels? Because sometimes I don't think we are as sensitive to our partners as we maybe should be. What do you think?
I think that is correct. I mean,
so too.
I think that very often in relationships, especially after some time has passed, people start taking each other for granted, and they go back into their little corners of that relationship ring, and they know how they feel. They set up their own little camp, and they forget that what really makes a relationship successful is how you make your partner feel about the relationship and about themselves sometimes. Although this feeling of self should be intrinsic, it shouldn't really be an extrinsic thing. But how does that person feel about a relationship? And your contribution can either make that relationship feel right or make it feel not so right. And we forget that. So I think that you're quite correct. It's the other person's feelings is very important in a relationship.
Yeah, very well said. That was very well said, Derek. All righty. So shall we go into the first one? What do you think?
Yes. Number one, be on the same team. People often perceive their partner as dissimilar to them, especially during conflict. They believe they have all the positive qualities and their partner only has a few or lots of negative traits. When you give your partner a negative quality in your thoughts, try to see that same quality in yourself. And when you identify a positive quality in yourself, try to see that same quality in your partner. The assumption of similarity is what keeps the story of us focused on we-ness and not me-ness. Interesting.
Yeah, you know what I found interesting in that is that opposites attract, right? And generally, what maybe I'm good at, my partner maybe is not as good at. Not saying that he's bad, but he might not be as good at. Or what he's truly good at, I may have a little bit of weaknesses in that too, but together we're extremely strong, right?
Right.
So when we start thinking that we are maybe above or that we're better than someone else, we start to lose being appreciated for the assets that the other person has. So I think sometimes when we get into a relationship, I think we step too above sometimes what's going on. And rather than looking at it on a whole, we look down on it. And I think then we start having these particular conflicts in our mind, because it's a mindset, don't you think?
I believe so, because it comes right back to my theory of the two circles, right? Two circles are supposed to be equal, and they're supposed to interlock with each other and complement each other, right? But what happens in a relationship sometimes is that the parties look at a relationship from, sometimes, not all times, from the position of power. Who is more powerful, or who is in control, and really doesn't consider that it's a relationship of equals. And that, to me, is one of the basic problems in relationship. The games people play, you know, the little nuances that lead someone to think, you know what, I can get over on you in this way because, you know what, I'm the power player in this relationship, and that leads to a lot of conflict. A lot of conflict in relationships. So the advice I normally would give to people is, look, live in the moment, enjoy your partner. Always try and remember what attracted you to that person in the first place. And why did you make the decision to become partners? You know, it had to be something good, right? And then emphasize, you know, dwell on the good, dwell on the love, you know, instead of dwelling on either the power or expectations.
Right. You know, I think looking towards your partner, the goodness that they have, you know, their qualities, and think about that, and being a team, you know, that's truly, I think it's truly the essence of what he was saying. So it's like, you know, I have your back, you have my back, you know, that kind of thing. And you know, it's the team against the world, that kind of thing is very, very important. So let's go on to the next one. It says, stop if you're flooded. Couples can only be as constructive conflict conversation if they can manage their own psychological flooding. At its peak, flooding can cause couples to be verbally attack each other. Any conversation you have while being flooded will be useless, if not damaging. Regrettable words will be said, and partners will put up walls as they defend themselves against the other. And it said Dr. John Gottham's research had shown that a simple 20 to 30 minute break can really help you calm down during this time. Do things that help you relax, like taking a walk or listening to your favorite music. You know, I totally get that. I think that when you're in the element of an argument, I think, you know, you tend to maybe say things that aren't necessarily really on target as to what the total problem is. Sometimes you just react with emotion, and then things get said that you don't really even mean. You're just ticked off, you know, and you just want to get it out there.
And you lash out.
Right. And I, you know what, and I have to admit that about myself. I realize you know, that I tend to let things build up, and then the dam breaks, and it's like, ooh, I let you have it all at one time. And so, and it's kind of a scary thing that happens, because people are like, whoa, you know, why didn't you just say that at the beginning when it bothered you? But that's just kind of not my personality. But those that know me close know when something affects me. They totally get that, because I wear my heart on my sleeve.
On your sleeve.
I wear my emotions on my sleeve. So, I mean, they totally get that. So with saying that, if we want to strike at someone, if we want to strike at our partner, we know how to do it, you know, and it's unkind, and it's not going to get the reaction, and it's going to hurt long term.
It's unkind.
So
and it's totally unnecessary. Most people get very emotional about stuff, and they respond in these. In fact, most times it's not a conversation they're having. It's a downright drag down, kick out, screaming argument. So I would say in the first place, try to avoid those situations, and always try to be honest and congruent with yourself, and also be honest with your partner. What's the sense of a partner and you can't go calmly to that person and say, you know what, so and so really bothers the heck out of me, you know, how do you feel about so and so and so? Because if you are truly partners and that person really cares about you, they're going to be caring about how something makes you feel or how you perceive something. Otherwise, to me, it doesn't even make sense to call what you have a partnership or relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate conflict. I really, I am a very logical person. Sometimes not emotional enough, I guess, but just logical to say there's a problem. Let's discuss it. Let's see what are the pros and cons with this situation, and let's come to a conclusion.
Here's the reality: is some people, and maybe even myself at times, we don't know how to go about talking to someone when things happen that displeases us, And so I think that's a conversation that we truly should have with our partners. If there's something that bothers us and we don't really know how to approach them, I think over time we'll get educated. It's like learning how to communicate with someone. Everyone is different. And so you can't just, sometimes you just can't blare out, something because that it might very well hurt them, but you learn that person's personality and you learn a little bit about them. And if you want to strike like a snake, you can do it, but it's not going to get you anywhere.
It's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, and they're just going to get mad at you, and it hurts their feelings, and they don't get over it because, some people don't forget things, when
it's stuck in the back of their mind, because as far as they're concerned, in that moment is how you really feel. And that's how you really feel about them. Mm-hmm. Because as far as they're concerned, that was a moment of clarity and honesty. Mm-hmm. So that's what sunk into their subconscious. Now, I know that some in the Hindu culture back home in Trinidad, some of the elders used to tell the younger women, if your husband tells you something that you really hate and you don't like, don't answer him. Go put some water in your mouth and count to 10 before you really answer, because what you're going to see can destroy your marriage. It can destroy your relationship, because we may think it's in the moment and it's gone, but it's long-term in the subconscious. It sinks in. So I think that we have to be careful. If we really care about our partner, we have to be careful. And that's, again, I believe in, if I have a partner, I should be able to tell my partner anything. I should be able to be totally honest with my partner. In a nice way, not in a way to hit out or anything, but so I prefer, if I see something or experience something I don't like, I'll tell you up front. I'm not going to keep it for months.
I'm getting better with that too. And sometimes I'll just say, you just might want to rethink that comment. You just might want to rethink that, and it's like, oh, day, okay, let's back her up.
Yeah,
I'm the same. And you know what? It's a thing. Sometimes we just react sometimes, and we say things that we don't really mean. And I think too, as partners, if we have a relationship with someone, that we have to be forgiving. We have to understand it could just be the heat of the moment, and something just happened, that kind of thing. So yeah. Do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, postpone persuasion. Trying to persuade your partner to compromise before both of you have stated your position will lead to resentment and an unfair solution. If your partner feels unheard, they will unlikely to be motivated to open up. They will be unlikely to be motivated to open up and hear your side of the story. It is only when both partners feel understood by each other that you can begin to work together to find a compromise. If your partner does not feel understood and accepts your persuasion, over time, they may resent you or undermine the solution you set. Slow down, understand each other, and the solution will last. And I think that's very, very good advice.
Yeah, that's good too. Oh, well, ladies, we do know how to persuade.
We
And they
always,
usually understand every bit of
yeah,
it. So there you go, women,
you always have to remember that that other person is living, breathing, thinking, has a brain in the head, has some intelligence, you know, and therefore their opinion is important.
Mhm.
And you have to treat their opinion with some importance. You you can't just come up with a solution, shove it down your partner's throat, and expect them to, okay, what kind of partner is that? The demo? You know, that
Yeah, but
person is going to push back.
this is what you do, is that you listen intently and you understand everything, and then you start the persuasion.
Well, and that's a technique we use. You say, I totally get it. I really understand where you're coming from and I appreciate it. And let me tell you how I feel about it. One of the other things that you learn
Yes.
is that you try to replace your but
Mhm.
with and. From the time you say but, that person throws up defensive structures in their mind. So instead of using the word but, use the word and.
Mhm.
You win more arguments using the word and than using the word but.
Yeah. Okay, so seriously about persuasion, I know I was kidding about it before, but I think that when you have a topic, when you're at odds with each other, or you're not quite, you're trying to make a decision, he's got his opinion, she's got her opinion. I think the reality is that it's best to really hear it all out. Because if you hear out the reasonings behind it, and you take away any of the emotion and you say, okay, this is why I feel this ABC, and then the other partner says, this is why I feel this way, ABC, they might actually look at it differently, and they might think, well, I didn't look at it like that. I didn't think about it
Absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely.
So if you stop for a minute and really just listen to the other person to kind of understand where they're coming from,
Mhm.
then I think you can come to a happy ground somewhere. There's some sort of compromise you might be able to make, or
Of course.
or maybe you just realize, you know what, they're absolutely right, and maybe this is what we should be doing, or whatever. So, in all honesty, I think that I think really communication. If we could just learn how to be constructive in our communication and be honorable to each other, and respectful, and show the partner appreciation along the way. I think that's very, very important to
It's
do
very
that.
important. And it's something that men in particular have to watch out for. In
Mhm.
fact, both men and women, but men in particular, like to think that we are always right. That
Yeah, you guys do, really. You like to think that.
men generally think that way. That we are right, and therefore we must, our ideas must be the idea that goes forward. No, not necessarily. Your partner might be a lot better or have more knowledge in a particular area than you have. Listen, I have gone so far as to do what is called a Ben Franklin, where you draw a line down the middle of the page and you put pros on one side with cons on the other side for any particular position. And you go down, you look at the pros and cons. Some people, and you have to know your partner, do not visualize by just speaking ideas. Some people have to see things. And when they can see it, they can crystallize it better. So you have to recognize, so when you're in that kind of situation, if you're speaking to someone and they tell you, well, yes, I see, yes, I see that, or yes, I see this. No, you're speaking to a visual person. And if you have a serious conversation about some conflict, it's better to write that down and give the pros and cons so they can actually see it on paper. You reach further that way with less arguments.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's absolutely great advice. Something else that I wanted to share too is as we're connecting with individuals that are, we're single, and so we're connecting with each other, you have to remember that each person has been able to make strong decisions, throughout their lifetime. They've been kind of steadfast and strong in their path of wherever they're going in life and this and that. So now all of a sudden you're bringing these two strong individuals together, and there is going to be some conflict there because they're used to making independent decisions on their own. And so when you start having to make decisions as a joint, then there becomes some give or take there and become some conflict that comes along with it. So I think if we remember as we're moving forward together in a joint relationship with someone, that we have to respect that, because I think there's we have to give some time for that other person to remember that there's another party that's going to make a decision in this too. You're not making the decisions totally by yourself.
Absolutely.
And I know that in my own marriage, we had that strong thing. I mean, my ex used to travel a lot, so I ran the house, I did everything, and without even concern. But then when he would come back, he'd want to take the reins and everything, and it was like, well, wait a minute, I've been making all these decisions, and it was kind of hard for me to kind of let go of some of that stuff,
Right.
So I do realize that when it comes time to make decisions jointly, you have to really put a joint mindset in place that you're going to work together on it. So yeah, I think that is kind of an important.
Very factor. Important.
Yeah. Okay, so let's do the next one. Express your needs. As a speaker, it's the responsibility to express your needs in a way that your partner can do something about that will be successful for you. The trap most people fall into is only expressing how they want to feel. I want to feel more loved. The problem is that it gives your partner no clue how to help you feel that way. And the better way to ask for more love is I need a romantic night, a date night once a week, and an overnight to a bed and breakfast every 2 months. Be specific. I like that one. So you come up with a plan, right?
Come with a plan. and often as well, people don't actually express how they feel in the moment. But they express how they want to feel, right? But if you express how you feel in that particular moment, then we can devise a plan to get you to where you want to be. But if I don't even know how the hell you feel right now, then we're kind of in the dark here. We're stumbling around. So I believe it's important for people to be in the moment and express how they feel right in that moment, how they feel in the situation. And they can also express, well, this is how I really want to feel. So I think that's important as well. Yeah,
that's great advice, because it is true. And so what I get from that is that if you express how you feel in that moment, you're sharing that with your partner. And so if you're feeling happy and things are going great and you're expressing that it's going great, that's wonderful, and they like to hear that, and they want that connection. And then when something isn't so great and you share that, they're going to know that's just an element of your communication. It's not just something that you're whining about, or you're trying to give them grief over, because this is how you are all along. So it's a good way to do that.
It's a good way. Sure. And of course, outlining the things that would make you feel better is great as well, because I can't read your mind. I really don't know what.
Really, okay, Derek, how would you feel if she said, okay, listen, I don't feel love, so I really think that we need to have a cruise.
Well, if a cruise
very loved, Derek, would you go for that?
Well, yeah, if that's going to make you feel love, fine. Look, the thing we have to remember is that we are the sum total of our experiences, right? And therefore, we are going to perceive life and things in different ways from different perspectives. So a cruise might be very unimportant to me, mightn't do anything for me at all. But it might be the way that you feel loved. Cruise might make you feel loved because that's probably something your mom and your dad did every year or whatever, and you associated love with that, right? So I wouldn't discount it. I mean, even though it doesn't appeal to me, I don't feel at all that I wouldn't discount it. I'll say, okay, I love this person enough to accommodate that.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about stuff like that.
The true thing is the element of not necessarily saying I want to go do this vacation. It's that I want to be alone with you. I want the time alone with you. Because often when we go away on vacation, that's really what it is. It's not necessarily that you want to go on this particular thing. It's that you just want to have that one-on-one space of time. And so I think that was what the element was.
It might
I
be.
want this, and this. But I think date nights are important. I think whether you are in a relationship for a long time or even a short time, date nights are important because it's a really centered, attention type of thing. And I think they're wonderful. Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I think that not just date night, but I think that dating, taking each other on dates, having the element of surprise, doing things that are different, is also good because it keeps things fresh. If you do the same thing every time for date night, that can become boring kind of quick. But if you structure it around different activities and stuff, I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, I know one friend told me one time, I laughed at this because I thought it was very funny. It's like your birthday and your whatever, and they said, oh, it's get lucky night. I said, what are you talking about? It's like somebody's birthday. He said, oh yeah, I always get lucky on my birthday. I said, oh gosh.
Oh my. I hope that wasn't the only time you got lucky.
Me too. The poor guy, no wonder he was bad mood half the time. But yeah. Oh yeah, it's on my birthday. I get my lucky night. I was like, okay, all right. Go for it. Get off work early. Go. Go
for it, man. Enjoy your birthday night,
I know, but what was funny about it is that he was all excited about it. He was all worked up, It was like, yeah, whatever,
well,
to each his own. Yeah, to each his own.
It's all right.
Yeah. So what's the next one? That's number 5. So we managed to get through.
Number 5. Believe both points of view are valid. When partners believe there is only one truth, they argue tooth and nail for their own position. That belief is a dead end. There is only one essential assumption that will make the conversation about hurt feelings or the aftermath of a fight work out constructively. That in every disagreement or miscommunication, there are always 2 points of view, and they are both valid. Once you accept that idea, it's no longer necessary to argue for your own position. Now you can focus on understanding and validating your partner's position. True.
Yeah, I think we talked about that. I think we had already talked about that. I think that's true. I think if you're open-minded, you realize that there's, what they say. There's always more than one way to solve a problem. And
more than one way to solve it. And the problem, there are always nuances. It's not going to be straightforward. It's a jigsaw. You got to put it together. And he goes on to say, note, validation and understanding are not the same as compliance or agreement. This process will only work if both partners agree that there are 2 valid viewpoints and if both partners are not focused on facts but on understanding the other side of the event. That is very true.
Yeah.
Where do you put your focus? Are you putting the focus on understanding your partner's point of view, Or are you putting the focus on, well, my facts are right, my facts are correct?
Mm-hmm.
It depends on where you put the focus, really.
Yeah, that's true. I remember one time there was a friend of mine, and we were having a discussion and about doing something a particular way. And I said, well, why is your way the right way? He said, because that's the way I've always done it. I said, so does it make that always the right way, or is it just the way you've always done it? I said, had you ever thought about doing it differently? Well, no, I never thought about that. I said, well, there's another way of looking at it, And so that really made him start thinking about, that there, just because you've been doing it the same way for years doesn't make it the right way of doing it. It's just the way you happen to have been doing it.
Yes, we happen to be like once, I had a discussion with somebody along some religious lines, and I asked a question. Why do you believe in the Bible? Well, because it's true. Well, how do you know it's true? Because I believe it. So, and that goes for a lot of different positions people hold. Because somebody believes something, they think it's true. Or they think it's factual. And sometimes it's the furthest from the truth. Has no relationship to empirical truth, but somebody would believe it. Simply because they believe it. They were thought that at some time in their life, and that's what they believe. Or they came to that conclusion, that's what I believe. And right there you have an argument without end. Because once somebody tell me they believe something, I don't mess with it. That's your belief, that's your belief. In those situations, I say, look, let's agree to disagree. Right? And he goes on to say, and we have a little time, right?
Yep.
These 5 rules will guide you to stop fighting and start connecting in your relationship. If you find you and your partner's core needs are at war with each other, don't fret. Check out the 4 steps to overcome relationship gridlock here, and that's another page. Additionally, Dr. John Gottman's 40 years of research with thousands of couples has revealed an effective conflict blueprint that provides both the speaker and the listener with responsibilities for making the conversation constructive. Right? So there are exercises and so on you can go on to do. Now, just today, in a course I am doing, involved with, I came across Dr. John Gottman.
Oh, there you go.
And I had no idea that I'd encountered Dr. John Gottman here tonight. And I wrote down a little thing here. It said, Dr. John Gottman found that for relationships to stay vital, partners need to experience 5 positive interactions to offset 1 negative interaction. And I found that was so telling. It takes 5 positive interactions, according to Dr. Gottman, to counteract 1 negative interaction. So we have to be very accommodating in our relationships and accommodating to our partners. Because to me, conflict conversations are, in essence, negative interactions. And if we have one of those, better find 5 positive interactions to counteract that 1 negative interaction, according to Dr. John Gottman.
And that's a lot, I mean, it's a lot. And then you have, the possibility of, if you're doing that flooding, you're saying really negative things, you're saying hurtful things, that's going to take a lot more positive things to overcome that. And you might not ever. I mean, I remember some really, truly horrible things my ex said to me. I've never forgotten it. Never have forgotten them.
See, that's the effect it has on us.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, we have to try to have positive interactions with our partners. A negative interaction should be a rare thing. Otherwise, why are we in this partnership? Why are we in this relationship?
Absolutely.
You know, I used to say, don't sweat the small stuff, right? You know, I read a book that said, don't sweat the small stuff, and I kind of took that as my maxim. But then I reasoned out one day and I said, well, if it said don't sweat the small stuff, is it okay to sweat the big stuff? And then we have to think that what might be big to one person might be small to another person and vice versa. So I have come to the conclusion, don't sweat the stuff. Live in the moment of love, always. And if it becomes impossible for you to do that, don't fight the inevitable. Move on.
Yeah, I love that. Live in the moment of love, and I think we can do that in all walks of life for us.
All walks of life.
We can do it in business. We can do it in friendship. We can do it in family. We can do it in partnerships. So I think that's excellent advice, and maybe that's as we're going forward.
I hope you write down some of these things I say, because I say things and forget what I've said. So.
Well, that's why we have video. We can come back.
Well, that's true. We have video, right?
We have video. We have it on video, and it's better than writing. Yes, we've got it on video, so we can go back and listen to this wonderful words of advice from Derek. That's for sure. And this whole show is supposed to show the differences between men and women, how we think differently. But what I realize is that we really, truly don't. When we open our hearts and minds and we listen to each other and we communicate, we learn avenues of communication, good communication. I don't think we have that.
I don't think. Let me tell you this. I read a book once, and I'm sure you probably have read that book. Men are from Mars and women are from Venus, right?
Mm-hmm.
But over the years since reading that book, what I've realized is that men and women really don't think differently. What we do is to process differently.
Yes.
Right? So we process differently, but we really don't think differently, because happiness is happiness, love is love. Right? Those are not ambiguous constructs. Right? There isn't really a whole lot of nuance to happiness or love, true love. Now there's a difference between love and lust. And of course, the Greeks identify different types of love: agape love and filial love, and so on. Right? Agape love, is the ultimate love. That's a love that God has for man. That's, it's like unlimited love with no attachments or anything. It's just pure love. Right? But then we experience different kind of loves, like filial love, which is love of friends and so on. And intimate love, which is love between partners. But if we can elevate our love for our partner into an agape realm, then we really would truly love that person and really understand where they're coming from, accommodate their needs, accommodate all their little, like the song says, all the how does it say again? Can I love all your edges, or something like that? It's a beautiful song by one of these artists. Love to sing along with it.
John Lennon, legend.
John Lennon, yes,
legend.
Yeah. So we have to be aware of these things as people, and love without restraint. And if we love without restraint, we're going to understand, and we're going to accommodate, and we're going to lean over backwards, and we're going to make each other happy. Right? And we're going to have a whole lot of positive experiences and interactions.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Yeah, I think it's great. It's great advice. It's we just need to learn to communicate in a way where our partners can understand that it's coming from not, from a place of love, not from a place of conflict. And so Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think it's a great thing. Yeah, I think these shows are great. I hope everyone out there is enjoying them and learning from them. I know I learn from them each and every week, and
Every
I hope
week.
that they make me a better person. And we're hoping that it does that for everyone else too. So it was a wonderful article. I hope you guys, if you want to look it up, you can find it right there. You can just Google it, and and I think definitely what's his name again? It was
I think something Minot. Oh, sorry, Kyle
yeah,
Benson.
Kyle Benson. So yeah,
Kyle
he's
Benson.
awesome, really. I mean, he's truly professional in his own right, and it was wonderful being able to share his article. So I hope that those out there listening enjoy it too. So I think we're going to have to close. What do you think?
I think so. It's just about time.
It is that
Say
time.
goodbye.
I know. Well, I am
Yeah.
Cece Schatz, the doyen of relationship building, and I have with me my sidekick, who is.
I'm Derek Bernard.
I know, and you are awesome. You totally are awesome, and words of wisdom come from you each and every week. So it's a joy co-hosting this show with you. And we're listening. You guys are listening. If you don't know it, you're listening to the Boy and Girl Things show. We're on each and every week, same time, same place, and we're on WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, radio, TV, and podcast. We are the #1 internet singles talk network. You can find us on goingsolomedia.com. And if y'all want to email us, ask any questions, Derek and I would be happy to answer them on our shows. You just email goingsoloNetwork@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. So if you want to hear anything in particular. Yeah. Well, Derek, you're awesome. I love you. And I think you're a great guy. I hope you have a wonderful week here coming up, wonderful weekend, and I'll catch you next week.
Catch you next week, Sissy. Have a wonderful week and happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's to you, and happy Valentine's to everyone out
everybody.
There. Yeah, I hope this show help everyone really start communicating for their Valentine's. That's for sure. All right, well, bye, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.